What if I told you that the world you know is built on top of forgotten cities, entire civilizations erased from our maps, whose ruins still shape the world you live in? While you drift to sleep, lost cities like Angkor, Cahokia, and Great Zimbabwe lie silent beneath tangled forests and grassy plains, their stories woven into your everyday life in ways you might never suspect. Tonight, we're traveling across centuries and continents to explore the lost cities that quietly changed world history, and why their echoes still matter, even when everyone else seems to have forgotten. Let's start in the heart of the Cambodian jungle. If you had walked here in the year 1200, you wouldn't have found only trees and silence. You'd have entered Angkor, the largest city in the pre-industrial world, a teeming metropolis bigger than Paris or London at the time. Imagine wide avenues lined with stone temples, reservoirs the size of lakes, and an endless hum of markets, ceremonies, and daily life. At its height, Angkor was home to perhaps 1 million people, one of every 1,000 humans on Earth. But today, Angkor is a city of ghosts. Its mighty temples, like the famous Angkor Wat, are all that survive, choked by roots and vines. But here's the twist. Angkor was not just lost to the jungle. Its story is also about climate change, engineering, and the limits of human ambition. For centuries, the Khmer Empire depended on an intricate network of canals and reservoirs to channel the monsoon rains, turning the land into a rice-growing superpower. But the same network that fed millions became its undoing. Droughts struck. The waterworks began to fail. In the end, nature reclaimed what people had built. Is it possible that today's megacities could face the same fate? A collapse not from war, but from the slow, quiet unraveling of systems we take for granted? Let's leave Asia and cross the oceans to North America. If you think the Americas before Columbus were empty wilderness, think again. Deep in the Mississippi Valley, near what is now St. Louis, stood Cahokia, a city so vast that, in its heyday, it rivaled the size of medieval London. Picture 20,000 people living around a series of monumental earth mounds, the largest of which, Monk's Mound, still towers over the prairie. Cahokia was a center of trade, religion, and power, its influence stretching for hundreds of miles in every direction. But by the time European explorers arrived, Cahokia was abandoned. The reasons are still debated: disease, resource depletion, social upheaval. But the silence of its mounds is a powerful reminder. History's greatest cities are not always the ones that survive. Now, what about Africa? Too often, history books ignore the cities that rose and fell south of the Sahara. But let's travel to the hill country of Zimbabwe, where the stone walls of Great Zimbabwe rise from the earth. Built without mortar, these massive enclosures once housed a thriving city, the heart of a kingdom that traded gold and ivory as far as China and Persia. The name Zimbabwe itself means house of stone, and the ruins inspired the name of the modern nation. For centuries, European colonists insisted that Africans couldn't have built such monuments. The truth? They did. Great Zimbabwe was a capital of innovation, trade, and culture, a lost city still fighting for its rightful place in world history. But why do cities vanish? Why do once mighty civilizations disappear, leaving behind only ruins and riddles? Sometimes it's climate, as with Angkor. Sometimes it's disease or war, as may have happened at Cahokia. Sometimes the answer is as simple as change: trade routes shift, empires rise and fall, and people move on, leaving their stone dreams behind. But here's the secret: lost cities don't really disappear. Their stories linger in languages, legends, and even the shapes of our modern cities. Do you ever wonder why Rome is full of winding streets, or why London's riverbanks are lined with old warehouses? The answer is almost always buried in the lost cities that came before. Layer on layer, each generation building on the bones of the last. Let's take Rome itself. Beneath the bustling metropolis lies layer after layer of history. Etruscan tombs, republican temples, imperial palaces, even the remains of a city named Veii, Rome's ancient rival. When the Roman Empire fell, people kept living among the ruins, scavenging stones, repurposing arches, turning temples into churches. The city was never truly lost, but the Rome you know is built on the ghosts of 100 Romes before it. Sometimes, the most astonishing lost cities are the ones we're only now beginning to rediscover. Have you heard of Cahokia? It's one of the oldest cities ever found, dating back nearly 9,000 years in what is now Turkey. No streets, no palaces, Just clusters of mud brick homes, each with a hole in the roof for people to climb in and out by ladder. Life here was communal, with shrines to mysterious goddesses and bulls' heads decorating the walls. For centuries, Cahokia was forgotten, buried under the earth. Today, archaeologists are still uncovering secrets. The diet, the art, even the burial customs of people who lived before the written word. What did city life feel like when civilization was brand new? And then there are the cities that were never truly lost, just ignored. In the Andes, high above the clouds, Machu Picchu was a royal estate of the Inca emperors, hidden from Spanish conquerors and left untouched for centuries. When American explorer Hiram Bingham discovered it in 1911, locals already knew it well. Machu Picchu's story is not really about being lost, but about the power of perspective. Who gets to tell history, and whose voices are left out. Even today, debates rage about how much of Machu Picchu was ever truly forgotten, and how much was simply overlooked by outsiders. Let's travel even farther back in time, to the Sumerians of Mesopotamia, builders of the first true cities like Uruk and Ur. Here, in the land between the Tigris and Euphrates, people invented writing, built ziggurats that scraped the sky, and recorded their deeds on clay tablets. But look at these cities now, vast mounds of earth, their walls melted by time and war. Yet every time you check a clock or read a book, you're touching the legacy of Sumer's lost cities. The first written laws, the first epic stories, even the way we divide an hour into 60 minutes, all come from here. What about the Indus Valley? For centuries, the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro were forgotten, their bricks picked apart by plunderers and floods. Only in the 1920s did archaeologists realize that South Asia was once home to a civilization as grand as Egypt or Mesopotamia. Mohenjo-Daro had wide streets, covered drains, and even public baths, features some modern cities still struggle to provide. And yet, we still don't know why the Indus cities fell. Was it river shifts, climate change, or something else? The lost script of the Indus people remains undeciphered, a tantalizing puzzle that keeps historians awake at night. It's easy to think that history is just a string of wars and kings, but the story of lost cities shows otherwise. Most of history is lived by ordinary people, farmers, traders, builders, families, whose homes and dreams vanish without a trace. Yet every now and then, the earth gives up a secret. A buried street, a forgotten coin, a temple overgrown with moss. Each discovery is a whisper from the past, a reminder that the world is older, stranger, and more connected than we imagine. Let's pause for a moment. Imagine you're standing in the center of a lost city at midnight. The air is still, the moon lights up broken stones and wild grass. You can almost hear the echoes, the laughter of children, the chanting of priests, the distant clang of a blacksmith's hammer. What did these people dream of? Did they worry about drought and war? Or did they tell stories under the stars, never imagining their world would one day be dust and mystery? Now, back to the real world. How many lost cities are still out there, waiting to be found? The answer is, more than you think. In the Amazon rainforest alone, satellite images have revealed traces of huge settlements, geometric earthworks, roads, and canals that suggest a vast, interconnected civilization once flourished under the canopy. In Central Asia, the Silk Road was lined with cities like Merv and Samarkand, some still alive, others reduced to ruins by time and conquest. Even under the streets of modern London and Paris, archaeologists still find the bones of Roman Londinium and Lutetia, reminders that the modern world is always built on the past. Let's not forget Atlantis, the city most lost of all, the mythical island that vanished beneath the sea. Was it ever real? Probably not as Plato described. But the legend endures because it speaks to something deep in the human mind. The fear that everything we build, no matter how great, can be swept away overnight. Maybe that's why we're so fascinated by lost cities. They remind us that history is fragile, and that every city, even our own, is only one disaster away from becoming a legend. Some lost cities are found by accident. In China, farmers digging a well in 1974 uncovered the famous terracotta army, buried to guard the tomb of the first Qin emperor. The city of Xi'an, one of the world's oldest, had been a capital for centuries, but its greatest secret lay hidden underground. Sometimes, technology gives us new eyes. LIDAR, a kind of laser scanning, has revealed lost Mayan cities beneath the jungles of Guatemala, mapping entire urban landscapes that no one had seen in 1,000 years. But what about the cities that are still being lost, right now? Rising seas threaten island cities from Venice to Jakarta. Wars and looting erase traces of ancient Palmyra and Aleppo. Even as we rediscover the past, we risk losing new chapters of history forever. The story of lost cities is not just about what's gone, but about what we choose to remember, protect, and pass on. So, as you settle in for sleep, think about the ground beneath your feet. Somewhere, not far below, lie the bones of lost cities, walls and streets and lives erased from memory, yet still shaping the world above. Every city you know is just the latest chapter in a book that's always being rewritten. Maybe, centuries from now, people will walk among the ruins of your own city, wondering who you were, what you believed, why you disappeared. The history of lost cities is a story of hope, loss, and transformation. It's a reminder that nothing lasts forever, but that every end is also a beginning. When you wake up tomorrow, the world will look the same. But if you listen closely, you might hear the quiet heartbeat of history, pulsing under the concrete and grass, waiting for someone, maybe you, to remember. If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten worlds, don't let these stories sink back into silence. Subscribe to History Owl for more journeys into the mysteries of the past, and together, we'll uncover the secrets that history tried to hide. After all, the next lost city might be just beneath your feet. Good night, and let the echoes of history carry you into your dreams.